the importance of listening, you've probably all heard about you need to do the active listening thing, but to tell you how important listening is, my area is suicide, and there's research to support that simply by listening and giving a person safe space to talk about wanting to die, their desire to die decreases. How powerful is that? I don't have to say anything. I just have to sit and appreciate and offer the empathy and the ear, and it helps just that.
Allison just wrote in chat, yes, I am a crisis counselor, and empathetic listening is so helpful.
You know, the interesting thing is that it works here too. An influence of mine, Dr. Jason Satterfield, he's a clinical psychologist, works at UC San Francisco Med School. His job is essentially to help medical students get through med school in the healthiest way possible. Like social workers, like all these other helping professionals, burnout, vicarious trauma, these things are very real things. And so he's done all kinds of research in his clinic trying to figure out what is it that makes the biggest difference. And overwhelmingly, all of the students and then practicing professionals come back to peer support. Peer support is the thing, and having this place, these spaces where we can go and we can commiserate and share and be understood and supported. And so it's a wonderful practice for here, and it's a wonderful practice out in the world. And again, talking about connections, relationships, being such, an essential component to all of this. So, I just say this because even this moment now where we share some of these tough things and these challenges and the frustrations and the negative voices and all of that, because we're, getting to share this together, over time, it's probably going to transform into a positive thing. And it will help you to finish strong this semester. And if you're coming back and doing more, doing that as well. So, important now, and you are establishing a way of being that you will carry on in your life and with others, which is a really important thing. So, I'm big into the culture of things, and what I'm hearing is the reshaping our culture into one that really cares. And you can bring that into a tired and frustrated profession and change that culture. And you're doing it right now. So very cool.
Yeah. These groups you're forming in your classes, don't lose sight of those. Don't lose touch with those after. One of my mentors, I was always astounded. She was in private practice, and I thought, oh, how cool. You get to, just kind of do your own thing and run the practice the way you want. And she was like, oh, Regina, it's the worst because I don't have anyone to connect with. And she talked about how she and several other private practitioners in the area had gotten together, and they had a name for their group that was really powerful, and I cannot remember it right now. But they would meet once a week, every week. And if they needed to talk about a rough client, or if they just needed to, enjoy something that would help them laugh, they were there for each other. And many of you, not to be a downer, but many of you even working in an organization, you may be the only social worker. And so those connections to people with similar values are really important. So hang on to those. Craig probably maybe didn't even mean to do it, but he dropped the name of my favorite Carl Rogers book, A Way of Being. If you can pick it up, do it. A lot of what we do in social work is education focused, and Carl Rogers not only focused on person-centered therapy, but also person-centered education. Really inspirational ways to drive practice, even if you embrace CBT or EMDR. Person-centered is something that can guide your practice regardless of whatever modalities you choose. It really is a way of being and a way of relating to each other, not just in practice, but in life. Very, probably you will connect to it simply because of all the things you shared of why you're in social work. It's just going to capture exactly where you are. So I know you may not have time to read right now, but if you can later. Diana says, my biggest challenge is imposter syndrome. I'm 58 and just now becoming a social worker. All of you and my fellow students are so much more aligned with serving others that I worry that I'm not as empathetic as they are. They seem to innately know the right thing to say, and I worry that I'm not as sensitive to others' needs.
I mean, to me, that tells me that you are sensitive to others' needs, because even just to be thinking about that. And I think the big thing that I get is, and I go back to the first time I taught a class in college, and there were people, really, there were a lot of people on a personality test showing up on one side, and then very few on, and what we were recognizing is we're all bringing different strengths and talents and gifts to this thing. And so it's going to look different for everybody, how this plays out. And something I want to encourage you with, and it's funny because I talked about quality or quantity earlier, but there's this really great idea, and it's like 70-20-10 or something like that is the gist of it. But it's talked about using this example of an art class. And so this art class, they're making pots. It's a pottery class. And what they ask the students to do, break up into half the students are going to make as many pots as they can in 1 week, and the other group has 1 week to make the perfect pot. And at the end of the week, they all come together and look at their pots and they rate them. And the greatest pots all came from those that made as many pots as they could. No pots were made in this other group because they were so paralyzed by trying to be perfect. And so the idea is that 70% of the time, roughly guessing, you're going to do fine. 20% of the time, oh my goodness, it's going to be just a bust. And let me tell you, I get my 20% all the time. And then 10% of the time, you're going to everything aligns and it's just so perfect. And so all this to say is, I don't think anybody's ever ready to do it. But there's a reason that you're here. Like Regina said, there's a reason you're here. That reason you're here, that dream you have, that call that you have, that's the thing that makes you ready for it. And if you serve from that place, it's gonna work out. So I say all this also wanting to say, imposter right here all the time. Oh my gosh, I'm waiting for somebody to knock on the door and say, okay, time to go. Like we're taking you away. Enough of these shenanigans. So I get it.
Oh my goodness. See, now I have work to do with Craig too. Okay. It's great to see your face.
Yeah, this is what old looks like. So that's someone knows.
No.
Late to the party. The funny thing is, my dogs are barking. The funny thing is, we're in the process of moving and cleaning out old stuff from the attic, and I found a box of my high school stuff. I found my ACT scores. I graduated in 1980, so I took that test in 79. And the interesting thing is, like, it profiles your careers, and it said social work was one of the careers. I just didn't go that way. Like, I went into medicine and pre-med and then ended up in pharmaceuticals for 34 years doing something completely different, never even thinking that social work was supposed to be where I was. And then it was just kind of serendipitous. I've been taking classes since 2018, one at a time. So I've been at this for a long time while I've been working, and I just went full-time last year, but it's just kind of funny. But I listen to everybody. They all seem to know the right things to say. I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm so old. How will I figure it all out? They all have it
But
down.
I just I love turning things around. So I want to point out to you all that experience in the health industry. One of the things that I had drilled into me in a very loving way, but by all of my professors when I was a student, was if you don't bring in the body into your work with your clients, you're going to miss something. Someone could be depressed because of a physical condition, anemia. I mean, so many things. And so having that health backgrounds, my therapist always, when I say something that she sees I'm very clearly uncomfortable saying, she will say, "Where do you feel that in your body?" And it's so telling to say, "Oh, I didn't notice until you said that where I am feeling that." And so I think those years of experience and understanding those things, especially, if you're going into a health specialty, there's a richness there that you bring. Um, yeah, so things had to happen.
I think Regina just nailed it right on the head as far as the years of experience. Diana, I used to get so intimidated by some of my younger colleagues, especially when I would come across the occasional 19-year-old MSW student um, who was so far ahead of everybody else that I was just like, wow, I'm just at the starting line, and this person is pretty much almost already done. But then I realized that they too have their own struggles, and we bring something else to the table. Our many different experiences count for so much in what we do, and our community as a whole is stronger because we have this kind of diversity, and that we're not of one hive mind. We're not all cookie cutter, and so we're stronger. We're just that much stronger because of it. And I'm certain that you will bring something to your clients that they will gain from you that a lot of your other younger colleagues who started earlier from you may not be able to do in kind. In fact, some of the different counselors and therapists I've worked with and professionals I've worked with over the years, some of the really great ones were ones who started later on in their life after having accumulated so much of the experience and knowledge that they have. I could see a very definite difference in the way that people reacted to their interactions with them than certain individuals who had done nothing but school throughout their lives and just got out, and that was all they knew, was what they read in textbooks and a few other things. And so trust me, we bring a lot to the table as older students.
Elizabeth says people work into their 80s, so even if someone is licensed at 60, that's 20 years of working. Absolutely. Absolutely. And I mean, there's all kinds of, there's a space and a need for all different aspects of who you are and what you bring. The academic affairs team, so all the advisors, all the directors, the assistant deans, the associate dean, we did an exercise taking leadership tests, and where there are like 32 different strengths, and we put up a chart about who had what, and myself and one other person, we each had one that no one else had. And the person was like, "Oh man, I feel kind of like the oddball, like maybe I don't fit with y'all." We needed some nurturing to remind us that we brought something to the team, because we each had this one thing no one else did, and we didn't have the same thing as each other, but we brought something that no one else had that was needed, right? And I bet if we looked together at us as a group, we could probably change the world, because you each bring something so beautiful and unique because of your experiences and your inherent talents and the things that you've learned and the things that you're good at right now in 5 years, or the things that you love right now about social work. In 5 years, you might think, I really want to do this other thing in social work, and I never thought I would want to do that. I quit my first social work job because it was a research job. Guess what I do now for 50% of my job? Research. So Be open to the reinvention that life does to you.
Mhm.